My son and his wife left me at the airport with no money. They said, figure it out yourself. But they had no idea who I was about to meet. And what happened next, you won't believe it. But before we continue, tell us where you're from and how old you are. We love getting to know our listeners. Thanks for tuning in. You know that moment in life when you're standing in the middle of a crowded place, gripping your old cell phone, realizing you have no ticket, no luggage, no money, and no plan for how to get out of there? Everyone around you is rushing, laughing, placing their suitcases on the TSA belt. And you? You're just standing there, forgotten, invisible, unnecessary. That's how I ended up alone at JFK Airport in New York. Just a few hours earlier, I still believed I was going on a family trip to Florida with my son Mark and his wife Emily. They said it would help me unwind after Dad's funeral. Dad would have wanted you to see the sun, the ocean, to finally smile again, they told me. My husband, Richard, had passed away 2 months ago. We'd been married 42 years. And then, just like that, a heart attack. Gone in an instant. The funeral was on a rainy Monday. Since then, I'd barely left the house. I'd sit in the kitchen, staring at his coffee mug, his slippers by the bed, and cry quietly into my pillow at night. Mark and Emily started visiting more often. They said I needed a change of scenery. That I was shutting down. Mom, enough with these 4 walls, Mark said. Breathe. Lev a little. Richard would want that, Emily added, putting her hand on my shoulder. Looking back, it was all so fake. When they invited me to Florida, I was surprised. Me? With you? I asked. Of course. You think we'd go without you? Emily laughed. It felt like a real family trip. I even teared up, I felt needed. Cared for. I went to my jewelry box and pulled out the last pearl necklace Richard had given me for our anniversary. I sold it. Gave the money to Emily for the tickets. We're all chipping in, she said offhandedly. I didn't ask for receipts. Didn't ask questions. I trusted them. So, on the day of departure, I stood at the check-in counter. Mark, Emily, and her mom were next to me. Her mom had priority boarding and a first-class ticket, by the way. I held a folder with the travel itinerary and a light sweater for the cool evenings. Then the airline agent frowned. Ma'am, you don't have a return ticket. I didn't understand. What do you mean? I'm with my family, Monroe's the last name. She checked her screen, then looked at me with that overly polite smile that says, please don't cry at my counter. I'm sorry, ma'am. You only have a one-way ticket. I turned and saw Mark and Emily already heading to security. I rushed after them, my folder feeling suddenly fake, meaningless in my hands. Mark. Wait. They said I don't have a return ticket. He stopped. Took off his sunglasses. Scratched his head. Mom, we thought maybe you'd want to stay a little longer. Enjoy the beach. Walk around. I froze. What? My voice cracked. Emily didn't even turn around. You've got your phone, right? Sell it, get a bus ticket. And just like that, they were gone. Through security. Down the hallway. Gone. I stood there, glued to the floor, while people rushed around me. Laughter. Suitcases. Children. And me, clutching my sweater and a useless folder. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just breathed. Short, shallow breaths. Like a deeper breath would shatter me. And then, I did something no one expected. I pulled out my phone. Scrolled down. Found the old number. David, attorney. I called. He picked up. Mrs. Thompson, he said, surprised. Everything okay? No, David. Nothing's okay. I need to change my will. Immediately. David knew my voice right away. He paused. Can you come now? Yes. Right now. I ordered a cab. Sat on a cold bench outside the terminal and hugged myself. I was terrified. But under that fear, something new was growing, something steady and strong. The cab driver didn't say much. Glanced at me in the mirror a few times. I stared out the window, remembering family trips. How Richard and I used to take Mark to the beach. How we'd save and plan. How I'd skip meals just to buy him new school clothes. And now? My own son left me at the airport. No bag. No money. No ticket. When the cab pulled up to the law office, my heart was pounding. David met me at the door. Older now, gray hair, but still with that calm look I needed so much. Come in, he said gently. Have a seat. I sat down. Clutched my purse like it was a life vest. What happened? He asked. I exhaled. Told him everything. The invite. The necklace. The trust. The abandonment. David listened quietly. When I finished, he spoke in his usual professional tone. All right. First, we're removing your son and his wife from your will. Second, we'll need a new beneficiary. Do you have someone in mind? I nodded and pulled out a brochure. Willow Grove Senior Support Center. They're good people, I said. I want my money to go there. David reviewed the brochure. Great choice. He pulled out a folder. Let's begin. For the next 2 hours, I signed papers, answered questions, reviewed every clause. I wanted it airtight. No loopholes. When we were done, David looked up. All set. Tomorrow, I'll get this notarized. You'll have a scanned copy. Originals stay in the vault, just you and I know where. Thank you, David, I whispered. I walked out into the cool evening air. People bustled past. And for the first time in a long time, I could breathe. Just a little. I didn't know what Mark would say. Didn't know what he'd try next. But I knew one thing, I took a step. A real one. Toward myself. The next morning, I woke up in a small downtown motel. Simple room. Narrow bed. Old dresser. Colorful curtains. But it was clean. Quiet. And I felt safe. The memories of the day before were still raw. Signing the new will. David's steady voice. My trembling hands. I couldn't believe I'd really done it. I made myself a strong cup of tea from a motel packet, sat on the windowsill, and watched people outside, carrying shopping bags, flowers, strollers. It felt like everyone had their own life. And for the first time in years, I was beginning to take control of mine. That afternoon, I walked to the nearest bank branch. Changed the passwords on all my accounts. Opened a brand new savings book, under my name only. Revoked joint access to the old ones. The teller looked surprised. Are you sure? That's usually done in very serious situations. I just nodded. This is exactly that kind of situation. After the bank, I went to the post office. Rented a new safety deposit box. I planned to store copies of all my new documents there. With every step, the weight inside me lifted just a little more. By evening, the phone started buzzing. First one missed call. Then another. Then 3. All from Mark. I sat on the bed, the document folder in my lap, and watched as another notification popped up. New email, Mom, what are you doing? The message was short, panicked. We just got a notice from your lawyer. Are you serious? Is this punishment? Mom, you know we're struggling, loans, the kids, are you really cutting us off? Please call me. We need to talk. I read it again. And to my surprise, felt nothing. No fear. No tears. No guilt. Just exhaustion and clarity. I closed the laptop. Went to the motel front desk. Excuse me, I asked the young receptionist, do you have a room available for another week? She smiled, checked the screen. Yes, we do. Want me to extend your stay? Yes. And please, I hesitated. If anyone calls or comes looking for me, just say I left. She nodded. Understood. That night, back in my room, I pulled out my old notebook. The one I used for recipes. I opened to a blank page and wrote just one sentence. Some doors need to stay closed forever. And for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. The following days passed in a blur. I woke up early, had breakfast in the motel's tiny dining area, then took long walks down Main Street. I stopped by a pharmacy, a bookstore, bought myself fresh pastries from a little bakery across the road. I made it a point not to spend all day in the room. I never turned the phone back on. I didn't want to hear anything that might shake my peace again. One day, I visited Willow Grove, the senior center from the brochure. It was warm and welcoming, with wide hallways, bright rooms, and the smell of fresh cinnamon rolls in the air. The director gave me a short tour. Here's the library, that's the dining hall, and this is our garden, she said, opening doors one by one. In the spring, we plant flowers here. I nodded quietly. Looked around. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like I belonged. That same day, I filed my application to move in. The transition was smooth. Staff helped carry in my boxes, arrange my belongings. I chose a small room with a window overlooking the courtyard. The garden was right below my window. Peaceful. Still. The air smelled like the countryside. That first night, I unpacked a photo of Richard and me. Put it on the nightstand beside his favorite coffee mug, the one he used every morning. Hung up a couple of watercolor paintings he once gave me for my birthday. Later that evening, I went for a walk around the grounds. A few women I'd met during my application waved me over. Hey, Evelyn. Come join us for tea, called out Linda, a retired literature teacher. I sat with them at a long porch table. We drank honey tea, ate simple cookies, chatted about books, weather, and classic movies. No one asked about my son. No one mentioned those who had left me behind. And then, the phone started ringing again. Mark. I didn't pick up. The next day, more missed calls. Then came the emails. First short, then longer. Emotional. One of them read, Mom, are you really cutting us out of your life? Out of the will? That's not fair. Yes, we made a mistake, and yes, things didn't go as planned on the trip, but it wasn't malicious. We just didn't think. I closed the email. That evening, I spoke with David. They're trying guilt now, he said calmly, flipping through documents. But legally? They can't do a thing. Everything's in order. I have no intention of changing anything, I said firmly. Good, he nodded. If anything happens, let me know. I'm monitoring everything. A few days later, someone sent flowers. A large bouquet of roses. No card, but I knew who they were from. I placed them in the common area, in a vase for everyone to enjoy. I felt nothing toward them. Not anymore. That night, sitting by my window, I wondered, how did it come to this? How did my own son become a stranger? Out of all the people I once trusted, only strangers by blood, but kind in heart, remained close. Linda saw the look on my face and brought me a mug of tea. More calls, she asked. Every day, I nodded. And you're still surprised? She gave a half smile. People remember us real quick when they lose access to our wallets. I laughed. Bitterly, but honestly. That night, I opened my laptop, reread the latest messages, and deleted them. One by one. Without regret. And for the second night in a row, I slept soundly. Next morning, I woke to the soft ping of a new email. I hesitated before checking. Subject, at least leave us the backyard. I stared at the screen for a while before opening it. Mom, are you seriously taking away even the yard behind the house? That's where the kids played. You know how much time and effort we put into that garden. Please, just leave us that much. I shook my head slowly. The kids played there? The garden they worked so hard on? I remembered how in all those years, they never once invited me to that yard. Emily used to post photos with captions like, "Our little family oasis." As if I didn't exist. I closed the email and went for a walk around Willow Grove. The gardeners were out that morning, planting young lilac bushes along the path. I paused, took a deep breath. The cool spring air mixed with the scent of fresh soil. It felt healing. Later, I visited the director's office. I wanted to talk about my donation, I said. Of course, Evelyn. What's on your mind? There's a plot of land. I have an idea for it. That's how the Therapeutic Garden Project began, a space for women who'd gone through loss or abandonment. A place to sit in the sun, tend to flowers, sip tea. A place where no one would ever hear the words, "Figure it out yourself." The next day, David called again. "Evelyn, good afternoon," he said. His tone calm but serious. "I've just received notice. Your son has filed an initial petition to contest the will." I tightened my grip on the phone. "Do they have any grounds?" "None. Not a single one. Everything's airtight. But I need to warn you, they might try to pressure you emotionally. They might even show up. Try to sweet-talk you." I looked out the window at the blooming trees in the courtyard. "Thank you, David. I'm ready." That evening, I powered off my phone for good. Put it in a drawer. And decided, no more calls. No more explanations. No more begging to be included. They left me with nothing at the airport. And thought I'd come crawling back. But I had a new life now. A quieter life. An honest life. A free one. Later that evening, I sat down at my desk. Took a blank piece of paper. And wrote. Choosing yourself isn't cruelty. It's survival. I folded it neatly, tucked it in the drawer, and went down to the dining hall. Where a table was already set for me. Where someone was saving me a seat. Not out of duty, not out of guilt, but simply out of kindness. Just as I expected, a second wave of attention from Mark began within a few days. First, more phone calls, ignored. Then new emails. But this time, there were no apologies. Only pressure. Accusations. Guilt-tripping. "Mom, you're being selfish. We're your real family. You're really going to leave everything to strangers? You're isolating yourself. They're using you and you don't even see it." I read their messages and felt only calm. Because in every word, I didn't hear remorse. I heard fear. Not fear of losing me. But fear of losing access to the house, to the money, to what they thought they were entitled to. That afternoon, I went for a walk to the coffee shop down the street from Willow Grove. Ordered a cinnamon cappuccino. Sat by the window. Linda joined me, sliding her mug across the table. "So, how are you holding up?" she asked. I gave a small smirk. "Better than expected. They're still writing. They won't stop." But for once, I sighed, I don't feel the need to explain anything. Let them think what they want. She nodded. Sometimes the strongest revenge is silence. I smiled. You're probably right. That evening, I received a final email from David. "Evelyn, attached is the finalized donation agreement for the therapeutic garden. Once signed, we'll begin the legal transfer of the land to Willow Grove Senior Support Center." I read it carefully. Didn't hesitate. Signed at the bottom. I knew Mark and Emily still believed I'd cave in. That I'd feel bad for the grandkids. That I'd change my mind last minute. But not this time. I was no longer the woman standing at an airport counter with trembling hands. I had become the kind of woman who decides who stays in her life and who doesn't. The deal closed a few days later. David called to confirm the land had officially been donated. And with it, a weight I'd carried for years disappeared. That evening, I walked to the birch-lined garden at Willow Grove. Sat on my favorite bench under the trees. The weather was warm, with a gentle breeze. I could hear residents in the distance, someone laughing, others chatting about garden seedlings. I never turned my phone back on. It stayed in the drawer, along with everything else that no longer held meaning. A few days later, a staff member brought me a letter. An actual letter, paper envelope, postmarked. From Mark. I held it for a long time before opening it. The paper was wrinkled, the handwriting rushed, words squeezed in between lines. "Mom, why are you doing this? We get it, we messed up. We didn't think it would turn out this way. But isn't cutting us off like this too much? You know how hard things are right now. We always thought you'd forgive us. You always do. Please, at least talk to us. The kids keep asking when you're coming back. Please, at least let us keep the garden." I folded the letter and placed it back in the envelope. Not because my heart softened. But because I had nothing left to say. That night, sitting by my window, I opened the notebook where I now wrote down my thoughts. I added just one line. "People don't lose connection by accident, they break it themselves. Then wonder why it's gone." I wasn't waiting for apologies anymore. Or redemption. Or miracles. I was just living. I took watercolor classes. Debated plot twists in books with Linda. Helped plant new flowers in the therapeutic garden. Sometimes I'd sit by the window with a cup of tea and realize I was happy. Just like that. Here. Now. One evening, a young staff member approached me with a gentle smile. "Evelyn? Do you have a minute?" she asked. "We were thinking, maybe you could hold a little group session. Tell the other women your story. About not giving up. About choosing yourself. About reclaiming your life." I smiled. "Of course," I said. If it helps even one woman, then it was all worth it. I stood, straightened my shoulders, brushed back my hair. And for the first time in ages, I didn't feel like someone's mother, or widow, or forgotten retiree. I felt alive. And most of all, free.